Let's be real for a second. In this crazy, crowded digital world we live in, how does anything, and I mean anything, actually get noticed? How does your brand capture someone's attention when attention is the rarest thing on the planet? Well, the answer isn't in writing better copy. It's not about having cleverer ideas. It's actually in the hard science of the human eye. So today, we're going to deconstruct the architecture of saliency, the fascinating discipline of visual targeting.
I want you to just let that sink in for a moment. Not 13 seconds, 13 milliseconds. What can possibly happen in 13 milliseconds? Well, before your potential customer even reads your headline, before they see your logo, before they even begin to process what you're offering, a decision has already been made. It's a biological, subconscious judgment call. And in that tiny, tiny window, most brands have already lost. Yeah, 13 milliseconds. See, this isn't some marketing metric we just made up. This is the biological processing speed of the human brain for visual information. It's the speed of instinct. And it is the brutal, unforgiving battlefield where attention is won or lost before your conscious mind ever gets a say in the matter. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, here's our roadmap. We're going to break this whole thing down into 6 parts. We'll start by defining the battlefield itself, this 13 millisecond war. Then, we'll look at where this all came from, deconstruct the engine piece by piece, dive into the deep psychology behind it, and then, the best part, we'll learn a practical framework to actually use it. And finally, we'll wrap up with the whole new philosophy of marketing this represents. All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the 13 millisecond war. And this is where we have to confront a really painful truth, especially for marketers and creators. You know that idea that great content will just magically rise to the top? In today's world, that's a dangerous fantasy. It's a myth, and it's built on a complete misunderstanding of how we see. And this is where so many of us get it wrong. We fall for what's called the content-first fallacy. It's this trap of believing your brilliant idea, your witty headline, or your perfectly crafted copy is what stops someone's thumb from scrolling. It's not. The eye stops the thumb. Your great idea, its only job is to keep them there once their thumb has already stopped. If you don't win that first silent visual battle, your idea never even gets a chance to fight. You know, here's the paradox of the modern social media feed. The more you try to explain yourself, the more invisible you become. Why? Because explanation takes cognitive work, and our brains are, frankly, lazy. They're ruthless energy misers, evolved over millennia to save fuel at all costs, so they create shortcuts. And without a neural interrupt, a powerful visual jolt created by specific shapes, colors, and contrast, your brand doesn't even get registered. It just becomes digital wallpaper. You're not just being ineffective, you are literally being neurologically filtered out of existence. And this is the big mindset shift we all have to make. We have to move from being an artist who's focused on self-expression and telling a story to being a saliency architect. See, an artist hopes their work is felt. An architect, on the other hand, understands physics and structure and human flow to guarantee a building stands up. The saliency architect understands the physics of vision to engineer a specific outcome, to demand attention, not just create content and ask for it politely. So how did we even get here? This shift from artist to architect? Well, it didn't just happen in a vacuum. And that leads us right into our second section, the Great Signal Crisis. This isn't just some marketing trend, it's a whole new discipline that was born out of pure necessity. It was forged in the fire of a very specific moment in our recent history. Not too long ago, we basically hit a wall, a biological limit. The sheer volume of images and ads and videos, this fire hose of content, it became so overwhelming that our brains literally had to adapt to survive. They developed what you can think of as a super high-speed ocular gatekeeper. Now, this gatekeeper doesn't have time to read, it doesn't have time to think, it just recognizes patterns. So we stopped consciously seeing most ads and started subconsciously sensing them, categorizing entire visual styles as signals to either engage with or, way more often, just ignore. And the solution that came out of this crisis is what you're looking at right here, Neuro-Architectural Precision. The old rules of branding, pick a color you like, find a nice font, slap a logo on it, they died. Especially as AI started flooding the world with perfect design, suddenly perfect became the new invisible. This gave rise to a new kind of thinker, the visual actuaries, who understood that a specific shade of blue or a 45-degree angle wasn't just an aesthetic choice. It was a psychological anchor, engineered for a very, very precise effect. And the result? What happened when brands actually made this shift? this number: an 800% increase in what we call the thumb stop rate for brands that moved away from subjective beauty and towards preattentive salience, the art of being noticed before conscious attention is ever paid. That's not a small improvement. That is a total paradigm shift. So how in the world do you actually do this? Well, that brings us to the core of our explainer. Section 3, deconstructing the Saliency Engine. And I want you to think of this not as a mood board or some style guide, but as a machine. A machine with distinct interlocking parts designed to bypass conscious thought and command attention. This engine is built on 4 pillars. First, geometric priming, which is all about the power of shapes. Second, chromodynamic intent, the strategic use of color. Third, contrast architecture, the physics of standing out. And fourth, the gaze line, the art of directing the eye. Let's break these down one by one.
Okay, the first and most critical layer of this engine is geometric priming. This is absolutely fundamental. Before your brain even registers whether something is blue or red, it has already processed its shape. Is it sharp like a tooth? Is it round like a piece of fruit? Is it stable and calm like the horizon? These primitive geometric cues are the fastest signals we process, a leftover from our survival days, and they instantly frame our subconscious expectation of the message. And the key here is that you have to align the shape with the message. It's not optional. Sharp angles, they trigger alertness. They signal precision, speed, even a little hint of danger. Think about the logo for a high-performance car or some cutting-edge software. Now, on the other hand, rounded organic shapes do the exact opposite. They signal safety, community, trust. Think of a wellness app or a brand that's all about human connection. Now, here's the problem. If you try to sell, say, a high-performance analytics platform using soft, rounded bubbles, you create a subconscious conflict. The geometry is lying to the brain, and the brain rejects the message before it's ever read. The signal just feels off, and the user scrolls on without ever consciously knowing why.
Next up, we have to move beyond basic color theory and into what's called chromodynamic intent. So we're not talking about, oh, orange is an energetic color. No. We're talking about using a very specific hue of orange to trigger a sympathetic nervous system response, a slight increase in metabolic rate that makes a viewer more physically primed to take action. Or it's about choosing parasympathetic blues to create a state of calm and trust when you need a user to feel safe. This isn't about what colors look good together. It's about what state of mind you need to engineer.
The third pillar is contrast architecture. And to show you what I mean, just look at this slide. Notice how the text is a little bit hard to read against the background? It takes effort, right? A tiny bit more cognitive load. While your brain, being the energy-saving machine that it is biologically programmed to ignore stimuli just like this. In a fast-moving feed, low-contrast visuals don't just blend in. They are actively filtered out as irrelevant noise. They become digital wallpaper. And bam, here's the solution. You feel that? That jarring shift? That is a neural interrupt. High contrast architecture creates a distinct focal point that just rips itself away from the visual noise of the platform. It doesn't ask for your attention, it seizes it. It's a visual siren that forces the eye to lock on and the thumb to stop. This is the physical mechanism of the thumb stop in action. It's not a creative choice, it's a calculated physical event. So let's tie all of this together. All these mechanisms, shape, color, contrast, they're so effective for one powerful reason, which brings us to section 4, your brain on visuals. See, we're not just using design principles here. We're tapping into code that's been written into our DNA over millions of years. And this is also where that fourth pillar of the Saliency Engine comes in, the gaze line. This is the simple, powerful principle that we are biologically wired to look where other people are looking. When a visual includes a face, our eyes are instinctively drawn to it and then to whatever that face is looking at. It's a primal cue for, hey, pay attention to this. By strategically placing a face looking at your button or your headline, you create an invisible but incredibly powerful pathway for the viewer's eye, guiding them exactly where you want them to go. The science behind all of this is something called evolutionary neuro-aesthetics. It's the idea that our aesthetic preferences aren't random at all. They're survival instincts. For thousands and thousands of years, our survival depended on our ability to instantly spot the sharp angle of a predator's tooth, or the vibrant color of a ripe fruit, or the high contrast of a person against the horizon at dusk. Well, the modern digital feed, it's just a new savanna, and we're using those same ancient triggers to spot value. And this survival instinct goes way beyond physical threats. It's about our social existence too. We're tribal creatures, constantly scanning our environment for signals of who belongs and who doesn't. Your brand's visual language is that tribal signal. It's the secret handshake. Think about it.
A developer instinctively responds to the visual language of clean lines and dark mode because it signals competence in their world. A creative professional might respond to vibrancy and organic flow because that signals imagination. So the question for your brand isn't just, how do I get noticed? But how do I instantly, in 13 milliseconds, signal that I am one of us? So the ultimate goal here is to move a viewer from a state of visual rejection, which is the default state for all advertising, to one of neural acceptance. And that happens when your design provides an instant beacon of value. It communicates in less than 1/10 of a second that this is familiar, this is trustworthy, this looks right. You're aligning with their brain's deepest patterns of recognition. Okay, so that all leads to the practical side of things. Section 5, the architecture of the thumbstop. Now that we understand the theory and the psychology, how do we actually build one of these neural bridges? Well, here's a simple 3-step framework. What's so powerful about this framework is how it shifts your focus from subjective creation to objective investigation. So, step 1, map the category DNA. This is critical. You have to stop asking yourself what you think looks good and start researching what your target audience already recognizes as authoritative in their space. What visual cues signal premium in their world? What signals trustworthy? You are decoding their existing visual language. Step 2, engineer the metabolic prime. Based on the action you want them to take, click, learn, trust, you select a specific color palette not for looks, but to create the ideal psychological and even physical state for that action. And finally, step 3, audit against the 13 M's rule. This is the ultimate test. Look at your final design for just a flash. Now cover it. Can you instantly feel its category and its intent? If you have to think about it, it's failed. So ultimately, you really need to see this process not as design, but as engineering. You are literally building a neural bridge. You're creating a pathway of visual certainty that allows a user's brain to cross the canyon of digital noise and connect with your message. And that bridge is built with shape, color, and contrast. And that brings us to our final section, marketing that pulls. When you put all of these pieces together, it really amounts to more than just a new tactic. It's a whole new philosophy for how we communicate in the digital age. Now, I know some people might see this level of precision and think it's manipulative, but it's actually the opposite. It is a profound respect for the user's time and attention. In a world that is constantly screaming for our focus, a well-architected visual is a quiet, confident guide. It doesn't shout, it signals. It's using the cold, hard logic of biology to connect with the warm reality of human intent. Deep down, we want to be guided. We want the digital world to make sense. And this approach is how brands can provide that clarity in a sea of noise. And that is the ultimate takeaway here. The old model of marketing was all about pushing people through a funnel. This new model is about pull. By aligning your visuals with the deepest parts of human psychology, you create a beacon. You don't have to shout, you don't have to interrupt, you simply have to signal clearly, and you will pull the right people toward the value you offer. Growth isn't linear, it's learned, and it starts by winning that first, silent 13-millisecond war.